We are live. Hello, everybody. Travis Smith here.
Liz Rich, how's it going?
So excited for episode two. We have a lot in store and a lot that's happened in the past week. We'll start off with Liz's favorite person, Jerome Powell, Fed
Mm.
chairman. What did you read from Jpow this weekend, Liz?
Well, basically, that he's doubling down and he is not in a hurry to be cutting rates. And the reason is that he doesn't want to jump the gun. He is really being conservative with these rate cuts, and it's due to inflation. He doesn't want to go cut the rates before, the cart before the horse type situation. So that is what we're seeing and why we're seeing a volatile market right now.
Yep. The inflation numbers, they really don't want to let that slip again, have to go into another really quick tightening regime. But they weren't, the PCE numbers, they came in line. The only, I think the only number that was really large was personal income. And I feel like if any number should be highest, it should be the personal income, right? But
Absolutely.
there's also the theory that you and I share, and a lot of others do as well, that part of that is because the people who are working multiple jobs right now. There's a lot of people working multiple jobs. We'll get more into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where it's very similar to a few years ago, where a lot of people have side hustles and things like that just so they can maintain. Um,
Absolutely.
I don't
And
know how
that
much of
you
that
can see
JPal
that.
takes into consideration, but
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Well, honestly, I think it's probably all culminated into that one set of numbers when the job reports come out, but I don't think it's broken down into, primary job and secondary, or really you're seeing two and three. Sometimes people have four jobs right now. I was speaking to a lady who literally is working four jobs just to try to make ends meet.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And
Says the person. I think I have four jobs. I'm not really sure how many it is right now. And my wife has two plus volunteers the PTO. So, um, it's just people got to do what they got to do.
it's
Um,
reality right now.
yes, we are seeing this week, though, at least on the Treasury side, yields have dropped a little bit. The 10 years down. I'm looking at it right now at 4.15, whereas we'd seen it
Just
at
down
4.3 not that long ago.
a point and a
So, um, I guess that's good. I mean, it's good in the sense it's not going up. I'm just curious as to how long that holds.
Well, we do have the beige book coming out tomorrow,
Yep.
so we'll see. And that's pretty much it for anybody who doesn't know. It's there's 8 meetings a year for the beige book, and it pretty much is staggered in between Fed meetings, and it's just recaps economic data. So that's coming out tomorrow.
That's going to be an interesting one to look at. And then, of course, we have the ever present jobs numbers.
Well, that's coming.
Um, and as long as if we get another blowout number.
Oh, it's gonna be ugly.
So do you think JPal raises for the March meeting? What's your prediction for that right now?
I don't think you can.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you can.
But we'll
If
see on that jobs.
it
I hope he
does,
does it. If we get, I'm afraid that if we get another one that's like 300K or above,
oh,
um, we
we're
might
into
see
the
it.
one.
So that's our JPal update. Like I said, that's Liz's best friend. We love talking about what he has doing and what he's got going on and how he's, just setting fire to everything that he touches. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Um,
But it'll be interesting to come back next week and talk about what they come out with the beige book tomorrow and get to dig into some of that data a little bit.
Absolutely. And so then we wanted to talk about also the inventory that we're seeing, the days on market,
Yeah.
and also the fact that we're still seeing more price decreases than we are new listings. So I know you've had some of your clients, they've been in multiple offer situations,
Mhm.
but they are down in the first time home buyer area, right? Sub 400 kind of situation.
Yep.
I think it's still super busy, below 400, but I've talked to quite a few inspectors over the weekend. We went at our chili cook off, and then talked to a friend of mine yesterday, and they're slow. And if
Wow.
inspectors are slow, then and like we talked about, I talked to you and some other lenders, and they said that there is still a lot of applications coming in, but the candidates in general are more challenging. So, trying to tie all that together from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm seeing for we could kind of jump into like a specific scenario that I'm dealing with where the client's primary is an FHA loan right now, and they're wanting to convert that property into a rental property and buy a new house. Well, FHA doesn't allow you to use departing income for that property unless the new subject property is 100 miles away. And in Austin, that's just not reality. If you're wanting to buy properties here, it's not. So this borrower doesn't qualify because she's got to get hit with the full PITIA. And so deals are tricky right now.
Yeah. And I do think there is still, as always, it comes down to price, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you price the house correctly, it'll get sold in 2 weeks. Or if you price a house to sell, I should say, it'll get sold in 2 weeks. But that number, I think, is still below the pain point for quite a lot of people, especially if they bought within the last couple of years. They paid pretty substantial amount, and there's a decent amount of people underwater on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and was talking with somebody yesterday. They have a property up in Oceanside, California, and that property is actually making them more money than their rentals in Texas. So just because of our property taxes being so high. So I think people are starting to get creative in these markets that they're looking at. But you're also putting a significant amount of money down to be able to afford there. So,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
the one thing that is, I think, really that could be done the quickest about to help affordable housing is just the property taxes are so high. They're so tough to deal with. And so that just makes it more expensive, not just for homeowners, but for investors as well. And I know not landlords aren't everybody's favorite, but we need landlords buying houses for people to rent, just like we need home buyers to buy houses for people to live in.
yeah.
So,
Well, you're still seeing people in the set where our rates are at. It's cheaper for them to rent, which kind of blows my mind still, but they're not looking at the equity position that they can gain.
they're not looking at that, but I think there's such a difference. And as you know, a lot of people, especially first time home buyers, but not even just first time home buyers, a lot of people, they find out what their monthly payment they qualify for is, and that's what they go shopping for, and what they can get for rent versus what they can buy. There's a bit of a disparity in that right now.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
You're
I
going
think, what's that?
at 350,000, you're still at a, 29 to $3,100 a month mortgage payment.
Which is way more than I'm paying for my house that I bought. If you bought pre 2020, you got lucky. So
Yeah.
I bought mine for like 319, and like I said last week, I refinanced it into a 2.25. So we're like a little bit above 2,000, which is not bad for a 3,500 square foot house.
Yeah.
So, but that opportunity is gone, at least for now, until either income rises to that point or prices come down a little bit further. And I think we'll see a combination of both of those things.
Yeah, we can't stay in this rate environment and think prices are going to stay where they're at. We saw that little lull in prices. Oh gosh, December, January,
Mm-hmm.
and now rates are coming up. So we got to get back to that prices coming down a little bit to make up for the rates.
Yep. I've seen there was some people who talked about they had fantastic open houses. But a lot of other people were talking about how they haven't had any, how they've only had one or two showings on a listing that's been on there for a month. My Liberty Hill listing, it's just such a beautiful house on an acre, and we're listed appropriately to comps. But houses in that neighborhood right now are averaging over 100 days on market, and it's just feels a little bit slower than it's just felt like in January and early February things were flying again, and it feels like we slowed down a little bit from there.
Well, I mean, yeah, and the other comment I'm hearing is people's pipelines are starting to dry up. Where we're coming into 24, we had our pipelines loaded, and now it's just not that way.
Yeah, like we talked about, I have two more outside of what I have going on right now. But I'm gonna have to start hustling. I'm gonna put on like the rooster suit or something and get out on 35 and start dancing with the sign. Anything to market, right?
That would be hysterical.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I'm similar. But it's different being on the lending side. I have 12 in escrow right now, and then 2 more going into April. But after that, I'm getting applications, but they're hard to qualify.
Yeah. I'm curious, what do you think the reason is for that we're seeing this shift of harder to qualify people making up the bulk of the applicants?
I think they're people who've come out of the woodworks, maybe sat on the sideline a little bit. I think those A portfolios are still holding out.
I think that's true also. A lot of them already own houses, and if you're going to be a move-up buyer right now and you have that 2 or 3% interest rate, you're underwater, or you just can't swallow doubling your payment for a house that's marginally better than what you live in,
it doesn't
they're
make
not
sense
moving.
for buyers.
Yeah.
You have to have that pain of your current situation outweigh the reward for those people to move. And when
absolutely
rates go down to like that 4 or 5, it makes sense. But now in this 7.25 rate environment, it doesn't make sense.
No, it's tough, and I don't want to project too far out, but I would still say for at least the next 3 months that rates aren't going down.
I think this is normal.
Yeah, I think this is going to be our normal for a little while longer. And there's other macroeconomic things that we could talk about in a future episode, like the national debt and things like that, without getting political, we can just kind of say, hey, this is what drives some of what the interest rate action is right now.
Yeah.
But so for what I really was excited to talk about today, and I know you were too, is FHA and its limitations. And then as we dive further into that, basically DTI, and we'll do a little bit of manual calculation on that. Yeah. But FHA, you had already touched on it a little bit and mentioned, the 100-mile rule. What other quirks about FHA would you like to share?
Well, I mean, you have your 90-day flip rule where a property's been sold within 90 days and it's back on the market. You're looking at 2 appraisals. If you're wanting to use it for a investment property, you got to have a 25% equity position. So that's another weird quirk. You can't just go buy 3.5% down government loan houses and think they're not going to slap another overlay on you. So, yeah, there's a lot of funky stuff with FHA. If you're trying to build a rental portfolio, please use a conventional loan. Please. You're really shooting yourself in the foot and limiting what you can do if you're not using that conventional product. But a lot of times people using FHA, don't you think, Travis? Because of DTI, you get that extra 7%.
You get that extra 7%. I would say you get the lower down payment, but these days there's conventional programs where you can put the same amount down pretty much. Yeah.
Well, it's 0.5% less.
I know, it's 0.5% less. And it
Now,
doesn't
mortgage
have.
insurance, depending on credit score, it could be more affordable with that FHA, that 0.55 mortgage insurance premium, where conventional is based on credit score. But then you have lenders like, if you're pro UWM, you have that discounted mortgage insurance through that lender. So always be looking at that if you're a broker, or you can do both, broker
Yeah.
or correspondent, whatever. Um, be pricing out MI on UWM because it is cheap.
And that's a really crucial thing, is because that is on our bill. I think it's like $160 a month of our bill is our mortgage insurance. So, and I will be stuck with that thing for a long time.
Yeah, it's mortgage insurance is one of those unnecessary evils, in my opinion.
Unnecessary evils? Why do you think that?
I don't know. I don't think it's helping people make homes affordable. I mean, $160 a month, that's somebody's electric bill. You're like double paying a certain bill. I don't necessarily think 20% down. If you're having to save 20% down, that would take some people probably 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, 5 to 7 years that they could already be home and be ready to move into the second home. Because even in this market and rate environment, if you were to buy right now and you turn around and sold in 7 years, you would be in a better position.
100%.
As long as your timeline is long enough, you're going to be in a better position for that. How do we calculate? Oh, I want to add one other thing that I get asked a ton from clients, and most agents and lenders that are watching, y'all already know this, but FHA is not just for first-time home buyers.
That's correct.
So there's people that get under that impression that's not the case. You can buy your fifth house on FHA. You just have to qualify through that program.
Yep.
But let's get down into the nuts and bolts of a DTI, Liz.
Yeah. Okay, so I love a manual calculation, Travis.
Oh yeah.
That's where it's a safe check, right? If you can manually calculate DTI, then you're kind of in a good spot. So just like easy numbers, let's say you have a $5,000 a month income. DTI for conventional is 50%. If you take your $5,000 a month you make and cut it in half, your max housing expense ratio is 2,500. Now you got to minus your student loans, your car payments, your minimum credit payments, those types. And every time you take a payment into consideration, it's the monthly payment, not the total balance. And that lowers your amount that you can qualify for.
Which explains what a lot of people, I've seen a ton as people go through the qualification process, is they'll have a credit card that doesn't have a huge balance on it, but it weighs down their DTI a decent amount because, well, you have this monthly payment that's going on.
Well, what's the average car payment right now?
Probably $700-800.
$650.
Yeah.
And if you're making $5,000 a month with a $650 a month credit or car payment, you have a nice car, but you don't have a house.
Yeah, because that automatically knocks you right down. 2,500 minus 650 is 1,850, and 1,850 on a mortgage payment. We just talked about, $350,000 houses at $3,000 a month. So then you're looking at like sub 250, and that just doesn't really exist anymore, at least not in this area.
I mean, maybe in Brownwood, or going out to way outside the city.
Victoria, Texas. I'm sure you can find some nice houses in Victoria, Texas for under 250. So,
well, Kerrville. I mean, there's some places in the Hill Country, but
the Hill Country's blowing up right now, though. I mean, Marble Falls is igniting. I'm talking to so many people who are doing work out in Marble Falls. I made a couple trips out to Kerrville. They have wait lists for all their new builds out there, and Lennar's actually even paying 3%, which is exciting because Lennar doesn't like to. Lennar is, they keep that commission close to the chest. We'll put it that way. I don't want to get in too much trouble talking about commission, but
My husband manages that Sherwin-Williams out in Marble Falls, and I can tell you just by the amount of paint he's selling, people are building and moving out that way.
nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So yeah, we manually calculate the DTI. We, like you said, we could do 50% of a person's income, and that's pre-tax, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Which really means
it's less.
yeah, if you have that $650 car payment, yeah, let's say you do qualify, and you're paying your $2,500 a month, but you're probably really paying even more, and then your real income is what, 3,500 or 4,000,
Yeah.
because DTI doesn't take into account things like groceries and stuff like that.
Mm-mm.
But we all have to pay groceries every month. Apparently, if you don't feed your kids and stuff, you get in trouble for that. So that is a real constant bill. And groceries, while I read allegedly groceries inflation rate for last year was only 1.9%. But I can tell you, as somebody with a family of 6, that grocery inflation was a lot more than 1.9%. And it's been a lot more than 1.9%. It feels, honestly, Liz, like everything's doubled, including housing, since 2019.
I feel like that's a pretty accurate assessment.
Yeah, I read they were talking about, it was a real estate specific stat that I was going to post on Facebook before Facebook crashed for a little bit today. I hope everybody survived. Make sure you mark yourself safe. But there was a real interesting stat that basically said the average mortgage payment has doubled since 2019 from interest rates, appreciated values, and that to me isn't something that's sustainable.
No, I mean, my very first mortgage payment was $1,465 a month on a $300,000 house. Now we did put 20% down. My father passed away right before we got married, so I had a little bit of an inheritance that we put. But I mean, still, 1465 is affordable for a first time. I mean, I was 26 years old.
Yeah.
So, affordable.
And I think that's because incomes haven't risen as fast as bills have. And I think that's one of the things that, that it has to come back down at some point. When we bought our first house in Victoria, this was in 2015. We paid $170 for it, and our payment was like $1,300 a month, and we were struggling with that. We had a hard time getting through that, and felt that payment on there. So did you disappear into the void, Liz? But yeah, so just to wrap up, Jpow has doubled down on keeping rates where they're going to be. And we're hoping, I mean, you don't want to hope for a bad jobs number, but it does look like if we get one, we might see a rate hike. Hopefully not. We also talked about how we're still seeing price decreases over 1,000 a week in the Austin market. We do have more inventory coming on, and so I think we're heading back into a seller's market, or more of one. We'll just kind of have to see how this plays out. And as Liz was saying, we have more challenging applications to go with that. And yeah, so hopefully we start getting back towards the soft landing area. Incomes keep going up, so housing prices don't have to come down, and we'll just see how that shakes out, and we can start getting people into the houses that they want to be in. Thank y'all so much for joining this week, and we'll be back next weekend. Thank y'all so much.